Hello and welcome to hankgames. My name is John Green. I'm the manager of the AFC Wimbly Womblys. Today, taking on Aston Villa. Let's see if Spurs lost. Oh, they didn't, Meredith. We're still 10 points back. They won their game. 10 points back with 8 to play, but we get to play them. So really, assuming we win all of our games, 7 points back, which is still probably too much. But a man can dream. In fact, in many cases, that's all a man can do. Today, we're taking on Aston Villa Football Club from beautiful Birmingham, England. I don't like to criticize the realism on FIFA, Meredith, because I think it's just a fantastic game. But I can't help but notice that it isn't raining, and it's March, maybe even April in England. It's just not realistic. Today I'm going to talk about the Looking for Alaska movie. I wrote a book many years ago called Looking for Alaska, and I guess I'll kind of give you an update as far as I know about if and when a movie version will be made, and maybe in that process, hopefully give you a bit of a... John Green, that couldn't have been easier for you. Excuse me. Maybe give you a little insight into how the movie business works. So I sold the rights to Looking for Alaska right after the book came out. In fact, I was paid very, very little for the book itself. My advance was very small. It was $8,000. I mean, that's great. It was essentially free money, and I got to publish a book, so I got to live my dream and get paid. So I was very happy. I don't want to sound like I wasn't, but the movie was way more lucrative when we sold it, because they bought the rights instead of just optioning them. Usually when you sell something to Hollywood, they option the rights, which means that they get the option to make a movie for a year, and they pay you some small amount of money for that option, and then if they actually make the movie, then they'll purchase it. That's what happened with both Paper Towns and The Fault in Our Stars, which were eventually turned into films. But with Looking for Alaska, they bought the rights outright because there was a bidding war. There was a bidding war right before, on that day. It was a crazy day. And I have to say, one of the happiest days of my life, because Sarah and I were I don't even think we were engaged yet, but we were, looking to get engaged, and we knew that we might have to move to New York City, which we ended up having to do so that Sarah could go to graduate school. And we also knew that was going to be incredibly expensive, and you've got to prove income to even get an apartment in New York. And, oh yeah, no, very marginal, but life is full of disappointments, and that is among them. Dicko scores a very slightly offside goal, and here we are in the 21st minute, still scoreless. So it was incredible to have this, this money that allowed us to move to New York, that allowed us to pay rent, that allowed us to get a much nicer apartment than we otherwise would have had. All that stuff. It was truly, I don't want to understate how much it changed our lives once we got engaged and moved to New York, because it was just everything was so much easier than it would have been. But it also meant that this movie studio, Paramount, owned the rights to make the Looking for Alaska movie forever. Now, I always figured that they just wouldn't make the movie. That's what Hollywood usually does. It's kind of what they're best at, is not turning books into movies. I'd say the thing that they're second best at is turning books into bad movies. But they're really, really good at not turning books into movies at all. So I kind of figured that's what would happen. By the way, I should say that I genuinely, although I had very little to do with either film, I genuinely like both the Fault in Our Stars movie and the Paper Towns film, and I feel incredibly lucky that two movies that honored I think anyway, honored the ideas at the core of the novels were made. That's extremely rare. I think it's really, really rare that an author gets to feel the way about movies that I've gotten to feel now twice. So I also don't want to underplay my gratitude for that. But the producers of the Looking for Alaska movie, which is at a studio called Paramount, the producers have always been awesome. Jessica Tuchinski is just one of my favorite people, in addition to being a wonderful movie producer. And Mark Waters have always worked really, really hard to get it made well, and they've put together some good scripts over the years. But it's just really hard to say yes to making a movie because it's incredibly expensive. I mean, you're talking about, at least $10 million probably, and more likely closer to $20 million, and that's just a massive, massive amount of money. And so I'm sympathetic to movie studios for being like, I don't, for trying to find ways to not spend that money, particularly in an era when like the only sort of like guaranteed return is on Iron Man 72. I can't wait for Iron Man 72. I really think they're going to reinvent the genre, and we're going to be finding ourselves saying, man, I can't believe that for so many years, oh God, panic, Amonkwa. I lived in the pre-Iron Man 72 world as if it were just the only way to be alive. So yeah, what was I talking about? Right. So they bought the movie. We have to score, by the way. We have no choice because we have to win because it's our only chance. All we can do is take care of our business. We put ourselves in this hole against the Tottenham Hotspurs, who've only lost 3 games all season, and we've got to figure out if we can get out of it. But all we can do is our part. They put together some good scripts over the years, and slowly also the other thing is that the book became more successful, right? I mean, this was a book that had sold when the movie rights were optioned, it had sold, a few, like maybe a couple thousand copies, and now it's sold many, like a couple million. So the book was becoming more popular as people were discovering it, especially in like 2006, and then since then, look at Key. He's just a maestro to Ball John Green. Did you see Key on the ball there? He gives it all for the team. Upon his mustache we're keen. Ball John Green. I don't think we score that goal without Key, realistically, Meredith, and I think our whole season is different if we don't pick up Key. I mean, he has been an absolute. People say that I overuse the word catalyst, but what other word is there for what he's done to our team? It's just an absolute catalyst. Let's bring on a hot slice of Kelvin, Mycon. Let's also bring on the golden child. Key is tired and needs to be rested for future games because life is long, and we need Key. There we go. All right. Good job. Good job with the substitutions, John. Yay. Frankenstein, it's all right. Life is long. You'll get plenty of playing time. Guy whines a lot. Have you noticed that? So then so there were a few sort of like quasi-serious attempts to make the movie, but never anything that close. And then The Fault in Our Stars came out, and The Fault in Our Stars movie came out, and obviously it was extremely successful at the box office, and that made Paramount want to make a Looking for Alaska movie very badly, but they couldn't put it together for a bunch of different reasons. They just couldn't put it together. They tried to hire a great director who I have a tremendous admiration for, named Sarah Polley, and they just couldn't make it happen. Then the Paper Towns movie came out, did much less well at the box office, although still, I don't know, plenty. To me, it's plenty good. But seems like it did well, for my mind. But it did much less well than The Fault in Our Stars. And they had kind of Looking for Alaska all lined up with great producers, with an amazing script written by the same people who wrote Fault in Our Stars and Paper Towns, Weber and Neustadter, who are brilliant screenwriters and awesome people and good friends of mine, and I was really happy with the script. And they hired this wonderful director, Becca, who has become a friend of mine and is like so committed to the book and cares so much about it, and like went with me to my old school to look at everything, and she's incredibly impressive. Oh, speaking of incredibly impressive, it's a ginger goal. Ginger Sermon has a soul. Meredith, how long has it been since you heard a good Ginger song? It's been a long time. Ginger Sermon, stunning the world with his Ginger Sir magic. Oh, a ginger goal. Life feels good. Oh, tell you what, we may not win the Premier League, but we'll always have that moment together, my friends. Um, and I mean, they were really far along this time. Like they were, they were picking locations and everything, and it just didn't come together. This is something that to say that I have no control over it is an understatement. I mean, I just, I don't have any, I don't have any control. I, I'm sure that I have more control than like the average reader of the book, but many times it doesn't feel that way to me. Like I can't get the movie made. I also can't get the movie unmade. Like I can't get the movie made, and I also can't get the rights to the book back. As I said, I'm extremely grateful for the faith that Paramount showed in that story many years ago. And it's certainly changed my life, and I don't want to minimize how grateful I am. Speaking of grateful, this game has featured now 3 stunning goals. Look at Hell's Bells. He can't stop dancing. Hell's Bells. He did it. Oh, I mean, look at it. He's a beautiful man. This has been a fun game, Meredith, for all the misery I've had to talk about. I'm not going to lie, it's been a long 10 years and in many ways an extremely difficult one. I think so highly of Becca. I hope that they find a way to get the movie made, because I think Becca will be an amazing director. And I think the producers are all great people. And but it's difficult because it's something that the story's so personal to me. That book is personal to me in a way that none of my other books are, and it's difficult to see something that matters so much to me personally, have this kind of like tortured movie life that I feel very disconnected from a lot of times. But that's but at the same time, like, I also didn't make the Paper Towns movie or the Fault in Our Stars movies, and I thought those both ended up great, and that's certainly my hope is that one day they do make a movie, and that when they do, it'll be great. But it's one of those things where you really do have to kind of let go. In the same way that we don't know if Tottenham is going to finish top of the table, all we can do is take care of our work, and we did that today. Goals from John Green, Ginger Sermon, and Hell's Pals. It is a great day to be a Wimbly Wombly fan, and a difficult day to be an Aston Villa fan. But to be fair, many of their days are difficult. Thank you for watching. Best wishes.